an easy feel by the Music Zoo. The first thing you're going to notice is a Les Paul with a trapeze tailpiece. It's like what you'd find on some of the other electric Spanish models where you still have a dedicated ABR1 bridge to it. It's just instead of a stop bar tailpiece, you have the trapeze. And usually a guitar will have slightly less break angle on these because it's a little bit higher up, which is, I'm assuming, where they get that whole easy feel branding for this particular one. I am all about experimentation like that, and to have it stock is pretty cool. And even if you don't like it, you could always put a Bigsby on here and no one would be any of the wiser because there's no stop bar studs or anything. You would just potentially have some additional screw holes over here after installing a traditional Bigsby. And that's only if you don't like it. This might feel and play fantastic. But this one does appear to have the Murphy Lab tax added onto it, but the finish checking looks pretty nice. You've got a little bit of flame figuring on this one. It's very convincing as an R8. Just for comparison, a regular R8, lightly aged, will run you $6,799. So there is about a $1,300 premium just to have that tailpiece. I'm always a big proponent of trying new things, but I'm not sure about that. But I would love to see just a VOS run. That way we could knock that price down to like $55. But if the factory burst isn't to your tastes, they also had a fantastic Dirty Lemon, but this one was heavy aged, so the price goes up even more to $10,000. But whereas this looks like a brand new thing, this looks like a hot-rodded Les Paul. It's got those uncovered pickups, like somebody just ripped them off. They put one of these tailpieces on here because it's like a conversion of a 52 or something. Yeah, that's exactly the vibes this thing pulls off. Conversion. But it also has a much more fantastic top. But your regular aniline dies on the back, and all the other good Murphy Lab agings onto this. It's nice having photos from the exact same angle to show you the difference between a light age and a heavy age. This comes down to they start to mar up the finish a bit more. But hey, this is actually a really good angle to show you what we were just talking about. Many times bridges start to collapse because people have that tailpiece decked all the way down because they feel it gives them better sustain. But this one, see how the string just doesn't bend at all? That's going to make bends on the neck that much easier. That break angle is way more important than you'd think. And if you don't believe me, do this test. Deck your tailpiece, string it up to pitch, but then loosen your tailpiece to raise it up and see just how much your tuning has been messed with, especially if you were to go from decked to this. It's always amazing how just small changes in different areas of the guitar can change how it feels dramatically. We also talked about that in that conversion episode because it was top drop. I could just bend that thing like crazy. So what I'm saying is if you're doing crazy bends, maybe you should try one of these. But hey, here's another difference between the price. This is a $59. Those have at least a $1,500 premium. But hey, between the time I recorded that and now, they're on sale, about 20% off. But next up, let's pop on over to Facebook. Larry was looking for advice on this guitar. He was kind of confused what it was because the fretboard material wasn't right. He expected ebony, he thought it should have gold hardware. The serial dated it to 2011. He did enough research to know that, hey, that's the Richlight era, so that might explain the fretboard situation. But the key piece of information that he needed to know is after the mid-2000s, all Les Paul customs move into the custom shop. When you have a serial number of this style, you know it has to be made at Gibson USA. That's why they have that whole made in USA thing there. Gibson USA is production level stuff. Gibson Custom Shop is custom shop. There is a difference here. So this is what is known as a classic custom. Now this one looks like a baked maple fretboard, but there were a few different variations and they did have the chrome hardware. But here's another example of a very similar guitar. These were cool. I think if they were launched today, unfortunately, they'd probably be about $3,000, and at that point, you might as well just get a custom shop. But a lot of people do get tripped up on these thinking that they are a custom shop level product. That doesn't mean they're bad. They're honestly quite fantastic guitars. Some of the better runs are a color that you couldn't necessarily get out of the custom shop without paying tons of money, like this gold top one. You don't find that with a natural back almost ever. But people do regularly pay premiums for these. But another reason why I wanted to answer his question is because of this headstock. Look at it. What on earth causes that, you might be asking? That is the combination of a stand rash and other things reacting to a nitro finish. Now, most likely, this is some sort of a clip-on tuner or maybe a clip-on camera. It could also be a capo, but it only reacted to the areas that it was coming in direct contact with. So you got what looks like a little bit on the B on the Gibson logo, one right there. It could also have been a sticker, depending on what that stuff was made out of. But if you're curious about that, yeah, that's the story there. But another difference between your classic customs and the custom shop ones, on a custom shop, this is real mother of pearl. Now, it does take a trained eye to see the difference because, honestly, this is really good pearloid, but that is what it is. So if you're ever looking at one of these and you're like, hey, that headstock just looks a little bit different. It's a little weird. Are we sure it's authentic? Usually it's the pearloid that's throwing people off. Next up, I found this thing on Reverb, a wine red Les Paul custom fretless with the most pitch black ebony fretboard you've ever seen. Unfortunately, no. Somebody just had a fret protector over it, but now that I've seen it, I need this. That would look so good with a dark Merlot finish like that, and the cream plastics really help complement everything. Fretless guitars are kind of a niche item. Not everybody needs one, but having a couple of them exist wouldn't be too bad. But it wouldn't surprise me if this guy utilized this photo simply to draw attention to it, to get you to click, and then maybe fall in love with it. And then should I trick you again at the official JFK Reverb shop? No, this one's actually legit. It's got frets, just no markers. And on a wrap tail gold top P90s 54 style? Okay, that was an interesting custom order that needed to be shared. That actually just appears to be an ultra dark rosewood board. I was thinking ebony. But besides the non-inlay factor, it looks like he swapped out the P90s with the wolf tone meanest in the bridge and meaner in the neck. And he set it up with Tomastic flat wound 10s. And then the other shocker factor of this one is it's chambered. So chambered reissue from 2024, that is a pretty cool custom order, my friend. And he's got it up on Reverb now for $6,500 if you're interested. A regular R4 is about $4,700 brand new. Knowing Gibson and their made-to-measure division, I would assume it probably costs them about that once you added tax into it. I bet it'd be about $5,500 or so. That nut width seems a little bit smaller on that one too. Here's another one that I thought was interesting. So Music City Juniors. One day we'll review this model, but somebody has modified this one to have the regular P90 in the neck, but then some sort of a mini humbucker or Firebird pickup in the bridge. But they've got this weird E thing on it. And at first I thought, oh my goodness, did somebody seriously carve through the top with his fancy E for Eric? Because that's what it looked like at first, and then they just painted the inside of the body black. But no, apparently that's just an armrest that's stuck on with double-sided tape, but you could make the option to make it permanent and drill it into the top. Either way, it certainly gave that one character because he also replaced our pickguard to a black one. But the whole cool thing about the Music City Juniors is the fact that A, they have a maple neck and an ash body. You don't find that on a Les Paul too often. They have a really cool tooled leather case with white interior. And then this contraption on the side, it's a B-bender. It utilizes like a strap lock system, looks like Dunlop in style. And then you can do that steel guitar slides. By bending up your G or B string, if I remember correctly, you just have to configure it differently. Yeah, right now it's set up as a B-bender, but you can see the routes that they have if you want it to be a G. If you're wondering what's taken so long for me to review this model, I'm just looking for the exact right combination of wood grain and wood grain lottery flame on the neck, and I just haven't found that exact combination that speaks to me yet. Here was an interesting flying V. I had to click on it because it says Custom Shop Edition. So at first glance, it seems to be a pretty basic flying V. What I notice most is the fact that it does not have binding, and we actually have pickup rings on it, which you don't technically need on a 67 style flying V. Some guys would add them to help get the pickups up higher and so they don't wiggle around as much. It would also give you higher output too with the stability that brings. But then you go up here, it's got the matching headstock, so that's pretty cool. But you go to the back, yeah, sure enough, it is a custom shop edition. Now in this era, that meant it was a limited edition run of some sort. This is still regular Gibson USA production. And this is at the tail end of when they were using these. So in the 90s, there used to be catalog order guitars. And that's kind of how Gibson utilized the Custom Shop Edition decal before the official custom shop opened. Once that comes into play, they use it for a little bit and then quickly discontinue it and start to use things like a limited edition decal on the backside of the headstock. So looking through all this, it appears this one was Custom Shop Edition because of what we just talked about. Matching headstock and stock pickup rings. Oh, and just the white finish in general. That's kind of cool. But that one is listed for $3,500 by CWH1 Guitars. But lastly tonight, advertised as Monster Top 61 SG reissue for $1,800. I don't know if I would call this a monster top, but as an SG, it is pretty cool. It's got some nice wood grain to it. Monster top, to me anyways, refers to like a crazy wide flame, or maybe even like a quilt. But occasionally you can find an SG with a one-piece body that has like some really intense wood grain going on. Like this thing is cool. I actually prefer the back. It's got that cool bullseye-like pattern. Most importantly, nice one-piece mid-2000s era. These are great SGs. The SGs of today, they're not bad by any means. Honestly, they're quite good. I really like the modern day SG standards with the bat wing guards. They've got a nice neck profile to them, but they're definitely using very different woods than say in the 90s or 2000s. Now that can be good or bad. A lot of these 90s and 2000s ones are quite heavy, but sometimes you want a heavier body in your SG so it's not as neck divey. So there's pros and cons. You just try them out if you can. The other thing to keep in mind about this era of the 61 reissue styles is they have that really obnoxiously wide headstock. But if the grain speaks to you, feel free to go check it out over on Reverb, as it also has a rather humorous ending 3 digits for a SG guitar. Alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.